Good evening, fellow morons, and welcome to the most depressing stream yet. So, many of you will be looking at that headline thinking, what on earth does that mean? But we do have a couple of barnstorming movies in store for you tonight. But before we jump into that, how are the morons doing? Are you feeling a bit heavy after this week?
Sad. Oh man. I watched these both in one day. I watched them both on a Sunday. So I mean, like, Sundays are supposed to be nice and enjoyable, but it was fucking hellish. But it was alright.
I'm glad I didn't do what you did, Daniel, because that was my plan at one stage. I think I would have just, like, I don't know what I would have done with myself last night. Yeah, as well. But I need something to have thought with me during the stream, I think.
We're going to have to think of a way, and I'm sure with some comments and trivia that we're going to have, that will certainly be the case. But before we jump into this week, as always, we just do a little recap on the previous week. Last week, can we remember the two movies that we watched?
You go, Bunzy.
Jojo Rabbit and Don't Look Up.
Guys, that took way longer than what it should have been. I actually told you 3 minutes before we came on the two films, and there was a big pause there.
I was wondering why we were asking us again.
See, what I noticed recently was that we've been talking over each other at that point.
Yeah.
So I consciously went, "On you go, Burnsy," and then knew you've made it shite. It was better. That was better than normal.
Nominate one of us next week to do it, and then that you'll see if they were actually listening when you've read out the films, and then you go, "That's the way to do it." A test.
Sounds good to me. So Jojo Rabbit came in at a 3.75, and Don't Look Up came in at 2.9. Can we remember roughly where that went on the leaderboard?
One upper and one lower mid-table. These two are still the most popular posts on Instagram as well, for some reason. Just mental.
People are still interacting quite a lot.
Yeah, there's still people arguing underneath these, which is madness about all sort of. We'll get to Sean later, but like about all sorts of like weird and wonderful stuff. Like, although see, marriage story one as well seems to be popular, so we'll see how this goes.
It'll definitely be interesting to talk about anyway. So, Jojo Rabbit came in at number joint 22nd on our leaderboard, and Don't Look Up came in at joint 55th alongside Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So I'll be keen to see where we go with these ones for this week. Quick question though before we jump in as well. Have you guys continued with the MCU?
I'm going to start where I was. No, I'm going to watch Hawkeye.
Aye, I watched Black Widow on Saturday so that I could watch Hawkeye this week whilst I'm still off injured. So that was I'm trying to fill in the gaps before I restart it again.
Oh wow. Well, that's me caught up to Endgame again since New Year's. So I watched Endgame on New Year's Day, and I've watched all the movies in between all the way back up to Endgame as of yesterday.
Well, do you know who is in Hawkeye? That obviously what you're going to want, somebody you're going to want to see is in Hawkeye. I
know nothing about Hawkeye at the moment, so please keep that to yourself. Hawkeye, we're going to jump into Spider-Man tomorrow, I think, and then Eternals is coming on to Disney on Wednesday. So I've got that and Shang-Chi to watch before. I think we're maybe going to go to the cinema and watch Spider-Man for the third time.
We're getting a lot of hate for Spider-Man as well.
I've done long 3 times in such a short space of time. That just doesn't do it for me at all.
Oh, it's brilliant, man. It's incredible. I'm absolutely buzzing for it. But anyway, that was too much excitement considering what we've got in store coming forward for the next hour or 15 minutes or 10 minutes that we're going to probably run this stream for. But let's start off nice and cheery with Schindler's List. So, Schindler's List, movie made in 1993. A whopping 3 hours and 15 minutes, which you guys must have been buzzing about. In German-occupied Poland during World War II, industrialist Oskar Schindler gradually becomes concerned for his Jewish workforce after witnessing their persecution. Sorry, I can't even talk. By the Nazis. I think we're going to come to Hunter first to get his thoughts. Set the tone for the rest of this stream, Hunter.
Oh gosh, I mean, Where do I start with this? I
Look at that. The notepad is right in front of the camera. Guys, just in terms of...
Massive.
It's a podcast now, they don't get to see that. So.
Well, that's it. And we do have all 5 morons here. We just obviously have some cameras off and hidden up in the corner. So we are here, though. We are here.
Yeah, we're all here, all good. Aye, so, I mean, for this, it's fucking gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, like, it's almost like it's what apart from the performances of Ralph Fiennes and Liam Neeson, are both playing very different roles and both executed brilliantly. I mean, there's not a lot of much positives to take away from it. And I think that's just because of the subject matter. It's still, I mean, here we are, 70 plus years on, and it's still very raw. Watching it, I think that was the first time I'd watched this in years, and it's just so harrowing. I mean, just the bit, I think what kind of probably struck home for me the most was the bit with Schindler and his missus are up kind of overviewing the town as the sort of I don't know how you would call it, when the sort of the Nazis take their turn and just start killing everyone left, right and centre with a massacre. And they've just kind of, you've just seen it, like the harrowing and how cold-blooded and murderous that they're being, when they've just got lining like 8 folk up in a wall against a wall, and just seeing how many. Basically, it becomes a game for them, and it just shows how evil and cunty that they were, and it's heartbreaking, and it's gut-wrenching, and it's so sad and harrowing, and even all the way right the way up to the end. I suppose like you've got the positives that have been is the sort of the nicer sort of the humane side of Oscar Schindler for saving as many people as he could. And obviously is the takeaway from it, but again he's obviously done. Although he was on the run at the end of the war, you see from the end scene when they're all down visiting his grave that he does go on to lead somewhat of a life post-war. I'd imagine it's probably for the good work that was recognised, possibly that he done in trying to save as many of the Jewish people that he could. And I said, as a film itself, I mean, it's almost like a dramatisation, a document, obviously because it is one of those films that is based on things that might have happened in real life that I do love. That because I think the subject matter, I mean, it's not, I just find it hard to describe, trying to find positives on such a harrowing subject, essentially. And I am hoping that our resident bundle of joy, Mr. Sean Field, can try and shed some positive thoughts on this for me.
There isn't really anything positive to say about it, is it? I think it's one of the, like, I found it like a really, really hard watch for more reason than one. All the reasons that you've kind of mentioned. But then just as well because it is really long. It is a necessary film to show obviously how this, and I think it has been covered in other films as well. But this one has done it best for me. But I think I first seen this back at like school, and I can't remember if it was primary school or high school that they showed us it. But I remember that was the first time that we seen it.
Sorry,
and if it was primary school
laughing.
that we watched it, I'm disgusted. With St Francis Xavier's, we should hang their head in shame because that's not a film for children to be watching. But no, it was a really, really, really hard watch. I had to kind of I watched it today as well, and it took me well over the 3 hours, 15 minutes to actually watch it. There was a few times I had to kind of pause it and just kind of go back to it like maybe 20 minutes later. The way that it was shot and everything, like the black and white, for a film that came out in 93, it actually felt like it was shot in like the late 30s, early 40s. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Like I thought the whole cinematography was brilliant. But it was just a really, really hard watch, and to watch these two films back to back today has left me absolutely fucking scunner. And I'm in quite a bad place in the like.
Well, I mean, it is heavy going, right? And but what I think stands clear for this film is we are sitting here talking about how difficult it is to watch, and that's exactly what it's meant to be, isn't it? Like, it's supposed to be like that. And I think in terms of movies, it's absolutely stunning to watch. Like, it's an amazing movie, and there's reasons why it's won so many awards. It's so highly rated on things like IMDb and stuff. Because sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, it'll be interesting to see what scores this gets, because, as you said there, it's obviously meant to be hard to watch, but I don't see how anybody could find this an enjoyable watch. Who's going to sit through and enjoy this? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So
it's really, really, really tough watching, and I don't see how anybody could say, "Oh, this is my favourite film," or like, "Oh, I really enjoyed that. I would like to watch that again one day." Like, it should be one and done. Like, for me, because it's fucking horrible.
So I think this maybe comes down to what you're looking to get out of watching a movie then, because obviously in terms of this movie, you've mentioned the cinematography, the way it's shot, the acting in it is fantastic as well. Like, you actually get sucked in and it becomes an emotional movie, and you start to put yourself in the place of these people and wonder what it would be like. And I think in terms of the movie, it ticks all those boxes for that. Yes, you're not going to get the same thrill and enjoyment as you'll get out of Fast and the Furious flying cars into space, but this isn't aiming to do that.
As well. Like, I've never known anybody enjoy Fast and Furious nowadays.
Nah.
So that's a terrible example, Kyle.
Is that no? I thought it was the only films you watched because The Rock's in them.
No.
But my point being is that this isn't going to fill you with excitement. But in terms of a film, I mean, I think it's top quality. I think it is absolutely fantastic to watch. It's not a subject matter that you would rush back to watch, and I watched it over the space of 2 days because it is hard to sit for 3 hours solid and feel sad for the whole time. So you have to take breaks, and fair play for doing that as well when you watch it all in the one day, Sean, that you need to take little breaks in between it because it's just heavy. But let's bring Burnsy. I'm going to assume, Burns, this is the first time you've seen this.
I don't know, like, I think similar to Sean, I did when I was younger, but I don't sort of mention
primary school.
No, maybe as young as that, no, I think my primary school didn't give us that. It was
getting the Holocaust shoved in your face in between playing rounders.
I may have watched it either at high school at least, or when I was around that age, but I can't remember.
There's an awful lot of tits and fanny in this for primary school, and even high school.
It must have been primary school that I seen it in, but I remember being very young, and it was definitely at school that we first watched it. I can't remember watching it all at school, so it was maybe just certain parts that they showed us for relevance to whatever it is we were doing at school, but I certainly don't remember seeing any boobs or anything at school.
No willies.
Certainly not the school I went to anyway.
Well, maybe they cut all that out and just left the willies in, Sean, no, in your school.
Well, it wasn't a gay school.
So anyway, we'll try and keep this serious. Burnsy.
Yeah, it's like, I think similar to sort of what you were saying, Kel, is like, depends what you're trying to get out of. Like, when I'm watching a film, I want to be sort of entertained, and obviously I knew like I was never going to be entertained. It was going to be a hard watch for the 3 hours or so, which it was. Obviously, it was really sad throughout. Obviously, there's not any sort of, you were never going to get points where it was going to like sort of level out, if you like, which you knew going in. I watched it over sort of two periods as well, which I think helped slightly. As Sean had mentioned, it's a really well done movie. Like, I think on sometimes if a movie's set that far back, I could imagine me coming on here and either saying that like I could have possibly complained it was in black and white, or complained how old it was, all that kind of stuff. Whereas it was set the way it was like directed and acted and everything, it was like awesome for that point of view. I did struggle though, but I think part of that was one that we had, because I'd watched the next film, Marriage Story, like the night before it, and also because we did, not that obviously completely different films in terms of what you get out of it, but because we've watched a film that was about Nazis last week as well, then obviously you're going from one extreme to another. So like, I know for me, I'm going to compare it to Jojo Rabbit, because obviously you're going to go Jojo Rabbit and there is like fun scenes and it's quite humorous at stages. Obviously, this is a completely different spectrum. I thought the acting was terrific. Obviously there was that much like when the Jewish people are getting killed, and like when you see obviously how harrowing it is for all of them, it does really hit home. And like I think me and Daniel had both been to Auschwitz and seen it there, and like I came out and I was just like, I think when we met my group of pals and that, and when we came out, I don't think we spoke to each other for a while, just because like it was just like stunned silence of what people had to go through when you read about it, and obviously watching that sort of brought it back to going to see that. Definitely encourage people to go there once to experience that and see how bad it was for everyone back at that stage. But yeah, like it was, I think for me as well, it was a bit too. There wasn't any scenes that were pointless. Obviously, it did all add to the movie, but even though I was sitting over 2 seconds, it did feel as if it dragged a bit, just because it was just constantly, like you were constantly sad throughout it, which for me, as I say, is like I'm wanting to watch something I'm going to really get entertained, really enjoy, which obviously this isn't what you're supposed to do out of it. And although I can appreciate what it is, it's not something that I'll class as really highly in terms of score for that reason. It's just about personal preference, really, what you're wanting out of it. See what Daniel thinks about it, because he said he had a lot to say.
Just to go back to the Auschwitz bit, you've been as well, Kyle.
Yeah, I've been. See, when I was watching this, and when you see the train coming through under the underpass and at Auschwitz, man, it just took me back to like being there and looking at it and just thinking how horrible it was that these people just come off a train, got put in a line, half went to die, half went to work, and they just get split up. And for me, it's like, when you're there as well, seeing it, obviously it's a somber place, and it's difficult to imagine what people were actually going through there at that point. But it's definitely historically important, and I think this movie is as well, because it paints the picture well from what you get told during the tours and stuff when you're there also.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like all the uncertainty plus the hysteria, but they're also getting fed all this hope as well, which makes it really sad for me. Like, it's dead horrid watching them like go through that, hearing the story about potentially being gassed, and then they'll get hammered into this room, but then they get showered, and then they get put back out it, and then they get all the kids ripped off them, and it's just like, I could not imagine what it was like. And I think the film itself paints a very individual picture of how corrupt it was, how dodgy it was, like how evil the Nazis were throughout it. The one scene that stood out to me for this movie, and I was like anticipating it come up the whole way through it, and I can't remember what the guy's name was on it, but it was when they pull the older guy out into the middle of the road and they're trying to shoot him, and they can't, and they're just he's sitting there knowing he's going to die, waiting for it, and he hears the click over and over and over, and I just think, like, imagine being in that situation to the point where they just hit him with a gun because they can't kill him. Like, it's the one scene for me that really hits home about shit like that, got my emotions going massively watching it. And
he's the one that he gives the wine to at the end, just before it ends. That's the same guy.
Oh, is it? I couldn't remember exactly where it, like, I knew there'd be some sort of significance for him to come back, but it was just it's tough to watch, man. Like, sitting in his little balcony just shooting people for the fun of it. Like, it's a sport for them, isn't it? Like, it's horrid. Absolutely horrid. But yeah, no, Auschwitz is an experience, like.
Yeah, man. Much like you guys said, it's one of those things I would say everyone should do if they get the chance. But the things that sort of stood out to me from going there, and then you sort of put this side by side with it, 'cause like you used a good word, which is that this film's quite important. Like, it's one of those things that see if someone says to you, "Oh, you should watch this film," it's one of those films that everyone should see, and it just makes you think of the wanker. But this one, like, not just because you might think it's amazing, you might not like it, but I still think everyone actually should watch this film. Like, it seems to be such an honest, like, this is what it was like. This is, you're going to see it. We're going to show you every single part of it. We're going to show you all the worst parts. Because obviously there's been loads and loads of films about this topic, and they all, to some sort of extent, have to gloss over certain parts. They shy away from the reality a bit because they're pushing towards entertainment. It's a movie, much like Sean said and Burns said, that you're sort of wanting to be entertained by a film. So most films, even about this subject, like we watched Jojo Rabbit last week, and there's a few other films about the same subject. They usually they take a bit of the reality away from it, whereas this one just shows you everything. So I think that's why I think it's so important that everyone should watch it. There's little things in it for me that, like, they do it. There's so much in this that at no point did I stop paying attention. See what a film that's over 3 hours long. Although I did have to take a break, like you guys, I took a break in the middle. I had my full attention at all times. So when I was trying to think about it today for coming on, there's so many little bits that jump into my mind, like the little boy having to hide in the puddle of shite under the toilet. But leading up to that, sort of going everywhere he was looking, somebody was already hiding. And I know you were saying there's not much light-heartedness in it. There was just something a little bit amusing about a few really weird things that they did, like Schindler going about shagging all the women, and like a few little things that they keep it so it's not just relentless death and shooting people in the street. But it really does escalate towards the end, and that's where it gets a bit, like you guys all mentioned, difficult to watch. There's a bit where it just sort of escalates and there's just tons and tons of people and there's piles of bodies in the street. But the worst bit for me was when they had to dig up all the old bodies and burn them, and there was just like corpses upon corpses, and then obviously they see the little girl with the red dress that he'd seen that he looked at the top, the bit I mentioned earlier. So it just makes you think how, like, just imagine it, man. And that's the thing, right? He saved 1,000 people, roughly 1,100 people, right? How many Jewish people died? Was it like 6 million?
Yeah, 6 mil.
I mean, it's fucking mental. Like, that's a tiny, tiny, tiny drop in the ocean that he... So, it puts everything in perspective so well, and I think that it does justice to the topic more than any other film like this. So
his reaction when he starts to understand that his lifestyle that he's been leading could have saved more people. And that, because I think, so to talk about Oscar Schindler as a character, right, he's really unlikable for most of the film.
Yeah, I think his arc is really good. He goes there with selfish intent. So he only takes the Jews because they're cheaper.
Yeah, and he wants to make as much he can of that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So, and that's how it starts off, for selfish reasons. And it's only through his relationship with Ben Kingsley's character. And I think Ben Kingsley's amazing. No one's mentioned him yet, but I think he's fucking class in this. And it's their relationship really is what the big arc of this movie is for me. And it's through that and him growing closer and closer to him as a friend that he realises what he should be doing. And that's what he's done by the end. He basically gave away everything by the end, but when he realises that his little pin could have been a human being, that his car could have been 4 human beings, like, obviously there's a few emotional bits in this film, but that was a bit where I didn't quite cry, but I got pretty close. I got the wee feeling, you know, sad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard to use the word enjoy, but I definitely appreciate this movie.
Yeah, that's probably the best word that you can use to describe it. But like I say, just to go back to Oscar Schindler's character, because from watching this movie before, I just remember the hero at the end, and I actually forgot how much of like a narcissist he is the whole way through it, and even to the point where like nobody actually references his wife as being his wife because he's got that many women coming and going. He's selfish, and it's all flamboyant. It's all about him. It's all about what he can get. So yeah, you spend 80% of the film thinking this cunt's a wanker, like, and then he progresses as a human, I suppose, where he starts to understand or realise what's going on. I did think it was quite cool when they were talking about like the ammunitions that they were making and stuff, and he was like, if any bullet comes out that can be fired comes out of here, then we've failed. I totally forgot that whole scene existed. So when that was on there, I thought that was really cool because he's in sabotaging it all and he's doing a really good cause. But it's don't know, it's one of the most, you don't really hear many stories about these individual brilliances that he's done, and like you said earlier, to save 1,000 people out of the 6 million as well, it does seem like a drop in the ocean, but it's so important at the end of the day. God, it is heavy, guys. It is heavy. So if you are listening to us, thank you for staying with us. I'm watching the viewer count here go up and down like a yo-yo, so stick with us. It is not the most entertaining stream, but we are talking about a really important subject that, for us, I don't know if I speak for you guys here, but I'd certainly suggest watching this movie if you haven't. It is a really, really important and good movie to watch, and there's a reason it's in, for instance, the top 10 of IMDb of all time.
As 1940s, Liam Neeson's character would definitely have had syphilis. Like 100%.
I mean, I can look kind of went in on the hardness and the harshness of it, but like, there was about, I don't know if we touched on it or we kind of maybe sort of skirted down it, but you see the bit where his wife comes to visit and she's like, oh, I'll stay if I can be known as long as I'm just not going to be like Mrs. Schindler, and then it's like next scene waving her off the train and she's like, what along with it?
That was stood out actually. It was so out of tone with the rest of the movie. It was like a slapstick moment at The Simpsons or something like that.
It was, yeah.
How cool is it though with the wee girl with the red dress? Like, just the cinematography side of the game. Like that. He's obviously caught the eye of this wee girl, and it's something that he's remembered. And then when you see her later on, obviously being carted, it's a lot darker red as well because she's obviously past at that point. There's loads of really memorable things from it that make this film amazing. It is an amazing movie. Hunter, let's get some trivia in it as well. Let's try and see if there's anything that's going to spice us up a little.
Yeah, so I had to look for some trivia for us, and again, because of the subject matter and a lot of it being taken from real life and real accounts, there's a lot of relations back to the people sort of telling their accounts and the things that's maybe related to in the film, but there are a few things that I've got here anyway. So Mila Pfefferberg, so she was one of the survivors. When she was introduced to Ralph Fiennes on set, she physically began shaking because she was reminded him. So it reminded her so much of Eamon Gough, he was actually the role he was portraying in the film. And Ralph Fiennes put on 2 stone for the role by drinking Guinness. Again, tough gig if you can get it. It was cast by Spielberg because of his evil sexuality.
Oh, I don't know what to know more about that.
No, me neither, no. So on the final scene, so obviously when they went down and they started putting the stones down on Oscar Schindler's grave, there's a flower that gets come along and put on top of the stones down. I think it was commonly thought that was Steven Spielberg. It was actually Liam Neeson who comes down and put the flower on top of the stones at the end of the film.
What?
So I see at the end scene where they're going down to put all the stones on the grave. Once it starts going, there's somebody comes and puts flowers down on top of the stones on top of the gravestone. And according to the trivia, everyone thought it was, or people thought it was Spielberg, but it was actually Liam Neeson who done that, came down and put the flowers on top of the grave.
I'd read that, so I can see why Daniel's a bit shocked though.
Dead confused by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So Ben's Kingsley character, I can't remember what the name of the person was who he was playing again in the film. I really should have written it down. But in the reality of it, it wasn't that person who was Schultz or whatever it was. So it wasn't that person who was actually helped Schindler write the list. It was actually a person called Marcel Goldberg. But the survivors when hearing his name going to a state of disdain, because apparently he wasn't as good and as honest as the person was that's portrayed in the film. Apparently he was like quite corrupt and was taking bribes for people getting on the list and stuff like that. So that's maybe obviously why it's been different character been altered for the effects of the story. Harrison Ford was the original first choice for Liam Neeson's role for Oscar Schindler, but he said he declined it because he didn't want people to sort of get the affiliation with Indiana Jones and the seriousness of this film, so he took a step back when he was first offered the role.
Thank fuck, that would have been shite.
I know. But also on that final scene as well, the ending, so the final scene where the real survivors go down and visit Oscar Schindler's grave, was it originally part of the film? Steven Spielberg had the idea during filming and had to go on a mad dash around the bit to try and get everyone sort of all together in one place to get this all done and filmed the way it did. And also, I didn't know this as well, but the leaving of the stone on the grave is a Jewish sign of respect.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there was one bit when I'm very much like Burnsy. I'll also go and sit and read through the trivia, even though I know that you're going to go and do it anyway. But I'm just, it's always my nighttime reading. One bit that stood out to me is that Spielberg will refuse to autograph any material related to this movie.
I do have that written down, and I've jumped past.
Fuck's sake, Hunter, you've got one job.
I know.
Look at that, even in his sideboarding work that he's cutting corners, imagine what he does in his real job. Well, that's obviously been very, very heavy. I know Instagram's been quite difficult to maintain things on scores and stuff, Daniel, but was it more thumbs up, thumbs down? What kind of thing were the feedback we were getting from Instagram?
I would say 90% 4 plus. Like you're roughly between a 4 and a 5 for most people. Very, very few. I don't think I really saw any below a 3. So
let's
that was about 45 people. So
nice. So thank you to all those that have voted on it. We are getting some really good interactions from Instagram as of late. But Hunter, let's come straight back to you and get your score.
Again, similar to kind of what's been said, for me the subject matter does take a lot of the enjoyment out of it, but some of the genius of the acting and the direction and the cinematography does need to be acknowledged, and so for that I am giving it a 3 out of 5.
A 3 out of 5. Sean?
It's a 3.25 for me.
3.25. Burnsy?
I'm also going to give it a 3. I was just going to add something. This is that at the end it was really, really well done, where Schindler obviously, when he gets the letter and they've all signed it, that was kind of the moment that it touched me more throughout the full film. And also what I was going to say is that I think in terms of my enjoyment I would also rate it lower, but because of how important it is a film that we've already touched on, that's why I'm going to give it a 3.25 and slightly higher than my enjoyment factor, if you like.
Daniel?
4.5. I feel like we're going to get slaughtered for this. We are. Oh.
Well, I was going to go slightly above you there, Daniel, at 4.75, because I think it's near perfect in terms of what it is. The only reason I'd score it slightly down is it's difficult, but I do think it's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll leave that little bit of a nugget between 4.75 and 5 purely down to the excitement factor. There's certain things that will get me going a bit more. I'm actually quite shocked that we've got 3 scores that didn't have a 4 at the start of them. That's actually blown my mind.
That took me by surprise, to be honest. I think. Well, this is probably a good time to lead us into Sean reading out some of the abuse we've been getting on Instagram.
Well, let's get the score, the overall score first of all from Burnsy.
So that's overall a 3.75.
3.75, guys. So that puts that bang on right beside Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, that's funny. The 2 Nazi movies.
2 funny Nazi movies?
Well, this was billed as a romantic comedy in one of our previous comments, so...
Somebody commented that on Instagram.
You've just stole my comment.
Oh,
Well, let Sean come in with some comments that we've had recently.
I just took comments just from the hot topics on the Instagram. So we've got one here. This is in relation to Don't Look Up. Real life Carter, yes, okay, thanks, said, I turned it off the moment Jennifer Lawrence smoked weed. So he obviously didn't enjoy Don't Look Up.
God, didn't let him watch Fear and Loathing then, eh? Too much drugs in it for him.
We had a bizarre comment from a David Alonso _. He said, overrated, full stop, okay overall. I believe that's in relation to Jojo Rabbit, I think. And underneath David Alonso, 9 Susie wanted us to promote it on Reality Records.
The one frustrating thing about every post must be for you, Daniel, is that the 500 don't please promote it messages that we get.
I usually catch them and delete them, but sometimes they go inside other people's comments, and that's a fair enough.
I didn't realise you did that. I thought they just died doing. I didn't realise you were doing that job.
No, I delete them. We get about 10 as soon as it goes up.
Yeah, that's strange. We've got obviously the one that you guys just called out, but I'll read it anyway. Cinema5.move, I'm assuming the movie, said in relation to these 2 films that we've got today, these are some of my favourite romantic comedies of all time. What a great way to start the year, crying emoji.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. And I think this is about The Godfather. Absolutely show says to me, smoking some crack out there. Some of the comments I've received have been disgusting. We've got Deepak _Ponada said, saw this post right when I was about to hit the follow. Now I've changed my mind. Thanks for the post. 2 smiley face emojis. Scores.
Yeah.
Deepak,
Fuck you, Deepak.
Yeah, Deepak can fuck off. And we have got another positive comment. How the fuck did I pronounce? Vishwatej _Vishu says, thank God I don't follow this page. All reviews are shit. And he has been backed up by 39 people liking that. Which doesn't bode well for us there. And yeah, that's the highlights of Instagram this week. And there'll be more next week, hopefully.
Well, guys, do you know what's funny part about that is that that's 40 people in total that still look at the page to be happy that they don't follow it, but they're having a look though.
Well, I don't know.
Sean's cheered me up now, so I'm happy. Thanks, Sean.
Well, thanks for that, Sean. We'll look forward to the comments.
Thank you guys for being so shit to get some comments like that as well. I think we deserve a pat on the back for that.
Well, Sean, if I heard it all correctly, there was only one person that was actually called out amongst your comments there, was it not?
It's just me, nobody's called any of yours.
Well, let's bring the tone straight back down and move on to the next movie. How does that sound, guys? Are we ready for this?
Yep.
Yes.
So,
rip it off Band-Aid and get it over and done with.
I feel like we should give out like a support line number at this stage, right? So see if anyone missed it, and if you need a bit of help, call like 0800 fucking morons or something. We'll speak to you.
What to do is if you go onto Instagram, go to the people that follow us and just put @sfreel, you'll get all the support that you need in there. So, Marriage Story, out in 2019, another movie over 2 hours long, so 5.5 hours of movie this week for the morons. An incisive and compassionate look at a marriage breaking up and a family staying together. Stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, who I think's been mentioned once or twice.
I'm fed up seeing her face now, man. Honestly,
I'm absolutely not. Not for me. Get her on. Hopefully, we're watching one of her movies in the next couple of weeks as well. That'd be ideal. Yeah, Hunter, we're coming straight back to you to get your thoughts and your take on Marriage Story.
So I didn't know what perception or whatever to go in when watching this. Obviously, I'd seen a lot of people bigging it up on the socials, so I kind of like to go in with a bit of an open mind. But I've got to be honest, for the first hour and a bit, I just was almost on the verge of being bored to tears. It just seemed almost like a normal breakup. Like, it was kind of like the point of like, what is constituting this being made into a film? And how is this person's story any different for any other reason of a marriage or relationship breakdown all up and down the country? And then we got to that one scene in the flat where they have that heated argument and exchange and fight, and it was about the only time throughout the film I felt like there was pure raw emotion. I don't know, I felt like I suppose obviously with the child being involved, that obviously you're not going to go in too hard, you're not being too hateful, you're still trying to keep up a level of respect with those family members that may be in earshot when they've been having these discussions. But seeing that raw emotion come out at that point, I thought that was absolutely amazing acting during that scene. Just the raw anger, the hatred that comes out situations, and they're saying stuff just for the sake of, you're trying to get a one-up, but it's like, and it's just, we've maybe all been there to an extent, having a, maybe not to that level, but having a disagreement or an argument with a loved one that can get a bit heated in. It was nice to actually see that portrayed, maybe to its truer sense as what can actually be done. Obviously, maybe touching up with some of the trivia, but obviously this is sort of based loosely on the director's own sort of marriage breakup, so I don't know how true maybe that scene was from what actually happened with him and his breakup. But again, as I said, it was some of the acting in that was absolutely outstanding. And then I did feel like at the end, what was the point? I felt like it sort of boiled up to. Then we still got towards the end. Obviously, we've seen obviously the stress that they were then under. Obviously, we Adam Driver's characters then flying back and forward from New York. Obviously, he's trying to, obviously the kids then becoming a bit sort of distant from him because of the distance that he's under, and he obviously is trying to fight against that to keep him on side. And I mean, it's just I can't imagine having to go through that. I mean, it's bad enough here, but obviously when you've got essentially that's, although it's still one country, it's still, it could be the other side of the world essentially, because America's such a place and having to go through all that. I can't imagine what that's going through. But I did feel from that fight scene on that we got the characters became a bit more believable and a bit more relatable from then for me.
It's an interesting one, this movie, for me, because there's so much change between who I liked and who I disliked throughout this. Mm-hmm. So it starts off and like Adam Driver's character's a knob, and he's self-centered, he's selfish, it's all about him. You get the background in the story about how she changed her whole career to accommodate him, and he doesn't accommodate, and it's all about his theatre work and what he can do, and he comes across like that. But then as the movie progresses and he's starting to lose his control because she's going through a lawyer and she's with her own family, you start to see him wanting to be a dad, wanting to be all nice, and he starts to become probably everything that she wanted him to be originally, which is dead sad because he's not been able to identify that at the point. But then she becomes really catty, and I think she's quite difficult to listen to sometimes when she's throwing her demands, and she's got her non-negotiable aspect of it now that she's holding against him. And I think it's weird watching it because it's so many different transformations of it, and I felt like the kid was a pawn between them for a lot of it as well. Like, he's fighting to get the kid's time, but then he's got no time for the kid when he's there. It's all about what he wants to do. The kid doesn't want to go trick-or-treating. He's knackered. He's been. Let him sit and eat his chocolate at his feet. He's play a game with him in the house, and then put him to bed. Like, the wee boy would have loved it, but instead you dragged him round. You took him to a shop to buy him a sweetie because you couldn't actually take him anywhere. Like, he's making decisions what he thinks going to score him points, but it's actually losing him more and more as he goes. The scene where they have the argument is dead intense to watch because, like you said, even amongst our friends or loved ones or whatever, we've had that one-upmanship argument where it just spirals into nowhere. That was quite quite good, like good to watch in terms of the acting, not good to watch because that's dark. Like,
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up is like how much of a change does the movie make when the lawyers get involved in it? Which is weird because when I watched it, I thought the lawyers come into it and Scarlett Johansson's character starts to grow her and like her personality more. She starts to actually want stuff, and he loses control, so he hates it. But the lawyers are playing their game against each other, and then that's when it spirals, and both of them are getting manipulated off the lawyers completely. And then
they signify that at the end where the woman, Scarlett Johansson's lawyer, got the 55%.
Yeah.
Instead, and she never asked for it. Like it was just all about winning for her. Like for the lawyers, it was just all about winning and getting their money. That's all it was.
I can't have him in the street saying he got equal. It's like, this is literally a free life that you're playing with.
So I was just going to remember, it's like when you say about the lawyers were wanting to win, but I remember there was a scene where it was Charlie's character with his lawyer, and he was actually saying to I can't remember the guy's name, was it, I think it was Bert, who the lawyer he did have, and then he sacked him. He went on about it as well. So it wasn't just the lawyers, he was wanting to win. He was desperate to win at that stage as well. Obviously the lawyers were, as it progressed, he actually said a line, something like, no, I can't lose, I need to win or something. And the lawyer in front was the one that was actually saying, no, like, think about the kid and whatever. Whereas the character of Charlie, he was kind of more similar to the lawyer's viewpoint as well, which I guess Scarlett Johansson's character was as well. It seems to me as if everyone was all about winning.
They both had non-negotiable terms that they couldn't budge on, and that's what makes it a really hard one when there is a child in the middle of that. But then nobody listened to what the kid wanted. The kid had very strong viewpoints on where he wanted to be, but it was just disregarded. But I'm going to bring Sean in just now because obviously I've jumped in and blabbered on it over your time, Sean.
It's another upbeat watch, wasn't it? I was expecting more of this just to go with the comments that people had left on the Instagram and stuff, but to me, I'm pretty sure that we all know somebody whose parents have went through, or maybe our own parents have went through some kind of divorce or separation like this. It didn't really seem too different. My parents are still together, but I've got friends who aren't, and it doesn't seem too different to what other people's situations would have been like. So for that, it just felt like each scene was just going over the same argument through points of the film, and it became quite repetitive. There was obviously a few bits, as you've already kind of touched on, the argument in the flat. I thought that was going to take a big sinister turn. I thought that was going to be like a big turning point. I thought something really bad was going to happen at that point. But obviously that's just me being fucking, I don't know, weird at thinking that something big's going to happen. But anyway, but they both just kind of, it was just a selfish mum and a selfish dad. The most important thing here was the child, and neither of them really, in my opinion, gave a fuck about the child. They were both just trying to get one up on each other, which is a shame. And it's probably like the majority of separations and divorces in this country, but all over the world. Going through like a breakup, as I'm sure we'll have, or whatever, it's never a pleasant experience. So it was just kind of weird that people were holding this in high regard for me, because it was pretty average from my point of view. There was a couple of moments in this that were quite that kind of relieved just the constant arguing, like the bit where he kind of slices his wrist accidentally when he's sitting there with when the woman comes in and he sliced it with his Stanley blade. I actually thought he was going to die. Again, that's me just thinking that something
sorry to interrupt you, how fucking weird was that wife?
Aye.
But that's not a natural reaction for somebody. If somebody you're in front of has accidentally sliced himself with a Stanley blade, no matter what the situation is, you show more concern than that. Like you don't just awkwardly take your handbag and then it was just weird. And I don't know, like this was just a really, really weird film. It's just about two people breaking up. It's relatable to almost anybody that watches it.
To you as well, just when you mentioned about how you thought he was going to die when he cut himself, is that was after the scene where he said to Scarlett Johansson's character he hoped that she died, wasn't it?
Yes.
So like, I think I was a similar viewpoint as you, because I thought it was going to be like karma for him saying that to her. I know he sort of obviously regretted it, but like at that point I was thinking this is going to be their way of saying, well, you want her to die and you're going to be the one that dies yourself. So I was a similar opinion on you when you said that, but for that reason. So you consider you just thinking you were a bit of I thought there was reasoning behind it, if that makes sense.
Sean's waiting for domestic violence or death. That's what it was. But it was also strange as well, because when he's collapsed onto the floor in the bathroom and it looked like he was losing consciousness, and then his sons just walked in and you could see he's walked past them and he went, "Oh, are you okay, Dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just tired." Like, that's not a normal reaction either. Like, if you walked in,
I don't know, like I don't know, like
isn't it a normal, I don't think that's a normal reaction anyway. I think that there would be, if a child of that age walked in and seen their dad or their mum lying on the floor like that, I don't know if they've seen the blood or whatever. He was hiding it, to be fair, actually, so maybe it is.
yeah, because he hid it.
I think there was blood over the kitchen. It wasn't the most cleanest or safest when he was trying to wrap it with a full roll of kitchen or whatever. There was blood over the kitchen.
I think
And at the front door as well, with blood on the front door.
I don't know what I don't know exactly what age this kid is, but I think you're overestimating the attention span of children at that point. Like, I can imagine kids just asking the question, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just tired. I'm just lying here," and be like, "Sound. I'm on my way back to my bedroom." That makes total sense to me.
Yeah. No, it was just I don't think this was anything special. As I said, Instagram is normal. The people who've got commenting on that seem to think that every film is 5 out of 5, and they live in a land where fucking everything's a masterpiece. This was anything but. This was so far away from a masterpiece. There was good acting in it. I don't like Scarlett Johansson's shot here, so it was a hard watch in itself. But apart from that, like, it was just. But look, to me, like a lot of people's upbringings with their parents splitting up and stuff like that, it was nothing out of the ordinary for me at all. And then obviously, I thought that there was going to be a point where they were going to get back together at the end. I'm glad they stayed away from that shit, and they just ended up being on level terms at the end and stuff, which is, again, so many fucking kids, that's their situation with their mum and dad. They're not together, but they're basically civil to each other and stuff. This was just nothing out of the ordinary. A pretty standard fucking Joe Blogg's life. That's exactly what this kind of struck me as.
An interesting take in it, certainly. Burnsy, give us more of your thoughts.
I don't know if this film was trying to be too different or something, because like it just seemed as if like most of the majority of the film was just about the actual split, whereas I thought usually, like with the brief that I read before it started, I thought it was going to be maybe more based on why they split up, instead of it starting obviously pretty much as they're splitting, and then you sort of found out the background as this film went on, I guess, to an extent. I sort of thought differently to you, though, Kelly. It's like, I didn't really think, I thought Charlie's character came across quite fully throughout the film, in terms of, like, the way that it was acted was really well done throughout by all the people, especially like Bert, who was the first lawyer, but the two main characters were really good. But I thought Charlie just came across quite, like you said, he came across quite arrogant and selfish, but then for me that didn't really stop that much. Like, he's the one that's cheated, he's the one when the lawyers get involved that he brings up her drinking and says it's worse than what it was, and he's the one that says that, what was it, she did like was she in some sort of porn movie or something as well when she was younger? I can't remember, it was something like that. I think he mentioned that came up, that was just out the blue. I think I don't remember him saying that before, but it just came to me, he was the one that came across really unreasonable throughout. I know obviously she's went away and she's sort of got her saying, well, I'm staying here, I've got this job, you have to come and meet me, and that's it, that's final. But I thought it was also, to me, it was also based as the guy was kind of the bad person, like throughout. I didn't really get the point where he actually became more like a dad and wanted to do good by his son, which I thought was kind of a bit poorly written though, because it didn't really get the happy medium for me. It always just came across as Scarlett Johansson's character was more on the right.
So for me, just to jump in there.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like you said earlier on, I was much like Kyle, that in each argument I was changing my mind whose side I was on all the way through this, because in each individual argument, sometimes I was completely seeing Scarlett Johansson's side, and then they would have a different discussion. I would totally see Adam Driver's side, and that was the one thing I liked about this. I thought the opposite to what you've just said. I thought they did quite a good job of portraying them as equally being cunts and equally being sound at different times of the film.
Actually, I just never got that.
I got from it that Adam Driver's character married this star, and for a selfish reason. Like, he knew he was going to propel his career from marrying her, right? But she was right when she said that she was more in love with him than he was in love with her. So she pushed the marriage, she pushed the relationship, and he benefited from it. So he's in that, what, early 20s, was it? Or just as he turned 20? Of this well-revered genius who was on the up, that was getting everything that he wanted. Like, they stayed in New York, they went to Copenhagen just to benefit him. They never done anything that she wanted to. He always found a reason, and he always got away with it. So for him to then get served with a divorce and it not be on his terms, because his terms were no lawyers, keep the costs down, I want all the money in the theatre. For then that to get taken away from him, you started to see his character crumble a bit. Like, he started to panic and he started to become a bit erratic, and then that's like, because the scene that stood out to me is when he was late picking up his son, and he's got the rental car and he's not got the seat in, and he's effing and blinding at the seat, and then he's effing and blinding at the kid as well. Like,
that was the thing. That was what made me even more dislikable kind of thing towards.
But then for me, I thought it was like, think of the stress and pressure that he's got newly put upon him. Like, he has to fly 3,000 miles just to see his kid for a day, which he never had to do before, and he probably never bothered seeing his kid as much as what he did now. And that's like a testament to how that character's had to develop differently, where Scarlett Johansson's characters went from being the person who's had to bend around everyone else to being the person in control. But she gets this airy arrogance about her that becomes quite unlikable. And I start to not like it.
Not as maybe I just wasn't as forgiving as the film progressed, because in the back of my mind was just all the stuff that he had done before that was still in my head. So what happened, obviously, as the film sort of progressed, you were thinking, well, it's a shame for him, he's having to get this flat, he's trying to get as close to son as he can. Then I'm still thinking, well, remember what happened like an hour ago in the film, whereas I'm not letting that go as much as I should have. And seeing the other side. Like, I also thought that, like, all the lawyers, when they were involved, like, because obviously it was just obviously all about the divorce, and like it was just constant. Like, as John sort of mentioned, it did seem as if it repeated itself a wee bit much. Like, I was kind of wanting a wee bit more from it, whether it was more just background as to when they were together, then they have the divorce, well, then they're getting divorced instead of just the divorce. You don't really see anything previous to that, even if there's some sort of flashbacks back into the past or something. So it was kind of just a bit kind of down throughout it. But when the lawyers were involved, is that they were obviously all out for themselves, as we spoke about before. Like, there was some humour that they had added, like, just because they were desperate to win, not humour for the actual main characters that were involved, but just they just obviously didn't care about anyone apart from winning. The only scene I thought that was a bit emotional was the end one, well, towards the end, where the son's reading out all the things that Scarlett Johansson's character likes about Adam Driver's character, but it was kind of just, I was expecting, like, similar to Sean, I think I'm on his boat. I thought, like, I was expecting a lot more from it, and also based on how the comments on Instagram were. But I thought it was just a bit a weird script more than anything. How as I sort of mentioned, I don't know if it was just they were trying to be different, because if you just went with the standard, you would have had the previous to get a divorce and then the aftermath, whereas they kind of just did like everything about the divorce and nothing really much else. I don't know if that was. It just didn't really work for me. But it was okay, but not anything spectacular, unfortunately.
Well, I think we'll push Daniel into his thoughts, because I feel like they're going to be contrasting to yourself, Burnsy.
Yeah.
A wee bit. I've got a feeling I'll probably give this a higher score than anyone else, but I do agree with quite a lot of the criticisms, but I just thought all the acting was amazing in this. No, I do think it's a shite script, and I think the guy that's written it must be an absolute wanker, because he's basically written this about himself, pretty much, right? The guy who wrote this, he was also married to an actress, and had a divorce with blah, blah, blah. And he's just basically defended himself as a fucking genius about 20 times throughout the movie. And, like, it's a bit hard. Where this falls down a bit for me is it's a bit hard to relate, right? It's rich folk who can afford to fly between their nice fucking apartment in central New York back to their nice house in fucking downtown LA, back and forth, and argue over the thousands of pounds and their genius grant and their nice little theatre company that they own. That's where it disconnects for me, because who fucking who? Do you know what I mean? Like, who gives a fuck? Just get it. Like, it's hard to feel sorry for them about what they're losing, like, financially and stuff like that. Because, and the thing is, she's like, oh, I gave up everything, and then within 2 years, she's winning an Emmy as a director. Like, I mean, they've just got everything handed to them, these two, and they do.
It's funny because I thought that was a massive dig at him, because she talks about how he didn't allow her to direct anything, and he stole her ideas. So again, going back to what I was saying about his early character, was he benefited everything for her. He took all her ideas and made it a big success for himself, and she's branched out and started doing it herself.
That's it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's like that bit as well is like she made a comment partway through the film, I think, when she was speaking to her lawyer about how he also stole ideas, but she wasn't comfortable in like expressing the ideas. Then they go from like the split, and then she comes back and she's directing stuff. Like, would she just like become confident overnight and just think she could do everything? That like,
would you not say that? So the fact that she's got rid of him, that she's become herself.
That's what it's supposed to be symbolising, is that it was actually him that was holding her down and making her feel that she couldn't be herself.
Like, she's got that within her, but it was never allowed to be out there.
Right. Understand.
But yeah, I mean, the thing that's good about this, right, it does feel like an actual couple breaking up. And I think a lot of that's down to Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, because they do play realistic characters. They're believable. Although they're smarmy, fucking arrogant cunts, they're believable, smarmy, arrogant cunts. Like, they seem like people who would exist. And at different points, the thing I liked about this was that you can, if you try and step back a bit, you can sort of see both their points of view in every single argument. Because he genuinely does feel sick about her going to having him stay in LA, because she said, "Oh, I'm just going to go out here for the pilot," and then suddenly he's being told, "Well, he was born there, and now he's going to school there, so you can't ever take him back." And she filed the divorce papers there, so now it's all more in her favour. So it seems like, although it doesn't come across that was actually the case, it's understandable why he would then start to become so bitter, because it seems like she's been plotting this for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and she stitched them up, and then it just slowly unravels from there. But obviously, we've mentioned the big arguments. We've mentioned the bit for the knife. What I would say is, right, I think there's 2 movies about couples breaking up that are better than this. One of them's called Blue Valentine. Have you seen that?
No.
It's got sexy Ryan Gosling in it. It's basically like this, but a few years before this, except it's poor folk. That's the difference, really. It's 2 poor folk. And do you remember the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston? That's better than this, too. That's a good movie.
Well, I've seen, when I was looking through trivia and stuff, and other people's reviews and trying to know a little bit about it, Kramer versus Kramer keeps coming up, which I've never seen. But
I've also never seen it, but we should maybe get that. If we get divorced up in the wheel again, then we'll do that.
Kramer versus Kramer's one I've seen. I know the movie's name and the poster and who's in it and stuff. I've just never ever seen it. So,
it's won Oscars, is it not? I'm sure
5.
There you go. There's bits that I do like in this. There's strangely, right, because it came so out of nowhere. See when he gets up and starts singing. See for the first like 30 seconds of that, I was thinking, this is just what the fuck's this? And then by the end of the song, I was totally drawn in by it because much like Burnsy, I like to have the subtitles on, so like that sort of drives home that the words he was singing were very much just reflective of every single thing that's happened in the movie so far. But at the same time, this is where you can tell that the guy who created this is such a wanky cunt. I mean, who does that? Who gets up in the middle of a place like that? It's fucking annoying. And it makes him unlikable. But I think the support cast's amazing in this as well. The wee boys, no great. I was waiting for Burnsy to say that he hated him. I'm surprised he never had that.
I think it's because he didn't have like a really main character, and I felt actually sorry for him because we pointed out. Well, not the actor, because I don't think he really added or made it bad or whatever. But I felt sorry for the character because it was like we touched on, is nobody really cared about what he was thinking. So I think maybe that helped. That I kind of felt sorry for him, even if it was like somebody horrendous that was acting him. Then I would have still thought that's a wee shame. I've got a heart.
Good. There's a wee heart in there.
Before sorry, Daniel. I was
just going to say that also, obviously, Burnsy mentioned it when they read out the letter at the end. That kind of hit me in the heart a wee bit as well. It was nice. But yeah, on you go.
I was just going to say, before we go into some trivia and stuff, and I'm going to bring up the Oscars. I don't know if Hunter's got that on his trivia or not yet, but I'll bring up the Oscars in a little second. But for me, the person I hated most in this movie was her mum.
Yeah.
Where she wakes him up singing fucking Jesus songs, and then she's jumping about. Like, she knows how hard and awkward that scenario is that Scarlett Johansson's character's creating to serve those papers, and she's running in and cuddling them and playing and having a laugh, and she knows she's not meant to be there, and it's like making it all about her, which I was like, get her to fuck, man.
Again, you can tell that this is the writer taking a dig at his actual mother-in-law. Jimmy Priestley written her as like an incredibly unlikable bitch.
Fair point. Anyway, Hunter, are you going to talk about Oscars? Or can I swing in here with some Oscar information?
I do have some Oscar information, so I'll just collate it in with all of the trivia. So again, as we've touched on, this is based largely on back when Joan experiences when divorcing Jennifer J. Lewis, I think, in 2013. So obviously they're quite weird because the Laura Dern's character of Nora, the lawyer, was based on the list. She was the same lawyer who was the lawyer for not only Dern's divorce but also Scarlett Johansson's and Bachman's. So, I mean, the thing is, the other thing I don't like about this film is it's just too personal, and it comes across like that, and it's like this guy said, "Oh look, this is how bad my breakup was. I'm going to fucking make a film with it." As I said, there's so many more people been affected in worse ways throughout the years that maybe deserve to have their story told. But again, because these are rich cunts, they've got the privilege to do so, and that's it. I said, it's triggering me. I don't know why. So that is some of the Oscar trivia. So it was the first streaming service film to get Academy Award nominations in acting categories, and it was also received BAFTAs and Golden Globe awards as well. And it was also the Best Picture nominee for that year's Oscars, where none of the main or supporting characters died.
Do we know which movie won the Oscars that year?
What was up against? Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit was there. So it was up against
Parasite.
Parasite. There we go.
Yeah.
And who was it? Who was best performance by an actor in a leading role that year, where Adam Driver was nominated?
What other movies came out? Leo, is that when Leo finally won?
No, Leo was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was nominated for that. Jonathan Pryce was nominated for The Two Popes. Antonio Banderas was nominated for Paint and Glory. and it was won by Joaquin Phoenix for the Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Sharna Drama has said, I came here to be depressed based on your stream title. Depress me. Well, you'll need to go back and listen to us talk about Schindler's List, because it probably was the most depressing half an hour I've ever had on a stream. So you'll catch that on the VOD. But yeah, a few nominations for the Oscars. Scarlett Johansson nominated for Best Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Motion Picture, but there was a winner. Do you have that in your trivia, Hunter?
No, I did think it was Adam Driver, but I was wrong. I don't know what they were.
So, best performance by an actress in a supporting role by Laura Dern. So
Yeah.
So the Jurassic Park.
She is good. She's good. Like.
Just refer to her as the Jurassic Park lady. That'll do. Sorry, Hunter. Continue with your trivia.
So also that fight scene was fully scripted. None of that was improvised at all, which makes me think that's what's essentially what's happened word for word in that argument. 50 takes over 2 days just to get that done alone. You could tell that was what he wanted to be the crown piece in this film, was that whole fight scene. It was the first Netflix film to be given a theatrical release of 30 days. I believe they hired out the Paris Theatre in New York to exclusively show this film again. That just shows the fucking uptightness, posh, elitist wanker director. So much, I don't know why.
I love it.
That's it. I believe.
I don't know if we should let Hunter do any more trivia on this movie, because I feel like he's going to go into the guy's fucking bank statements or something and just.
Jose, it's like, if I speak, I'll be in trouble.
Well, let's jump in and score this again. How did I know we're not doing scores for Instagram, but was it a thumbs up, thumbs down?
This was more in the middle. There was, again, like Sean said, people. See the amount of people that think every single film we've ever put up, there's loads of folk think it's 5 out of 5. Like, everything can't be fucking 5 out of 5. So there was plenty of those as usual, but there was a couple of zeros in there. There was a 1 and a 2. There's people who had the extreme opposite view of this. So
for yous that are listening, either on the podcast or listening live right now, when we are scoring these movies, we do obviously try to take in consideration what a 5 is and what a 0 is. Like, we've got 1 0 and we've got very little 5, 0 5s across the board. Very rarely do we give out a 5. So when we do give it out, it is because it is in very, very high regard. Just whilst we're talking about the podcast itself, guys, we had our best week ever in podcasting the last 7 days. 143 downloads for the podcast, puts us up to 442 overall, so 143 of them in the last week. The Spider-Man episode was the one that contributed the most to that. But do we know what the name of our most successful podcast is so far? And I think the title's got a lot to go for this.
Jamie Foxx's Smashing Big Bobby.
Not quite that one. It is the glow-in-the-dark dildos.
Oh.
Was that Hocus Pocus?
No.
The Descent.
That's it.
I fucking hated that movie as well. So glow-in-the-dark dildos is still sitting at the top, but Spider-Man's about 2 downloads away from overtaking that. So thank you to those that have downloaded already, and if you haven't, please jump on. You'll catch us on basically all the platforms for podcasts at the moment as well. Hunter, let's come to you first for you to score.
I'm just going to go in and give my score and leave again before I ramble on. So 2 out of 5 for me.
I always piss myself when people ramble about how they're not going to ramble.
So you might cut off a bit there. Was it a 2, did you say?
Yes.
Right, cool.
Was that a 2 or a 2.5?
Just a flat 2.
Flat 2. I wrote down 2.5. See, we weren't even listening to you. Sean?
I'm going to give it a 2.25.
2.25. Burnsy?
I'm also going to give it a 2.25.
There's a shock.
I think I scored both movies the same tonight. You'll need to get an alliance going.
He fucking copied his homework there. Daniel?
3 for me.
A 3 for you. It's funny because I feel like I'm copying Daniel's homework. I had a 3 written down for this movie as well. I enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it as well. That's what I came away from it saying. Ella said to me, "How was that? That seemed a bit heavy." I was like, I mean, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. And the acting tweaks it up a wee bit for me.
But again, I wouldn't watch this for a long time.
Never again.
No, I'll never watch it.
No, I'll never watch it again.
It's no Spider-Man. I'm not going to watch it for the 3rd time in 2 weeks.
But I would definitely recommend watching Blue Valentine if you want to see a much better version of this.
Mate, it's very heavy to go to watch that tomorrow and depress myself even further.
Yeah.
It's been a heavy week. Burnsy, put us out here with the scores for this one, please.
So that's a 2.5 overall.
A 2.5 for Marriage Story, which brings us to... It becomes joint 65th alongside Drive and a Sean favourite in Wreck-It Ralph.
See, this is similar to Drive for me, and it's artsy, wanky shite a wee bit. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a good, very good placement next to that.
There we go. Wreck-It Ralph 2 still not there on the leaderboard though, Sean.
We need to get that done at one point.
Yeah,
that makes you up a bit actually. To be fair, maybe I'm being upbeat in this.
That definitely has.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. That does bring us towards the end of those 2 movies. However, before we move on, we are going to spin the wheel to add on a category for Instagram upcoming. We do have a slight change to the streaming schedule coming in for next week. I believe we're moving to Tuesday night next week, Morons.
Yeah, good for me.
Yeah, Burnsy the Diva can't have a stream on his birthday. It's a sacred day. So he is going to be sitting in the house doing absolutely nothing, but he did blame Sean. I did have a laugh, Sean, today when you messaged and said, are we moving the stream because the Red Men might want to watch Man United play? It's like, fuck off. Don't try and put that on us.
Oh no, I was quite happy doing it. It was just in case you wanted to watch it, that was all.
And also on Saturday, I'm just going to throw under the bus here, Sean, is when I said to you on Saturday that I would change it, and you said I'd be watching the football anyway, so I wouldn't be on next Monday, after you tried to tell us on the stream last Monday that it wouldn't be a problem for you.
Well, no, I'll correct you on that. I never said it wouldn't have been a problem. I says you're just using me as a get out for your birthday.
Right, now, gentlemen, you can take your cattiness offline after this as well. Let's get the wheel up on the screen just now.
Well, before we do the wheel, we talk about what we're actually doing next week.
Yeah, talk away just now because I don't have the wheel available on the screen as I'm talking. So let's get the wheel there. There we go. I've got it on. So keep talking, Daniel.
So these 2 films tonight were our 100th and 101st movies that we've done so far. So what we're going to do is do a special episode, and we're going to talk about the full league table. So I suppose, I mean, how far back does the podcast go? About 13 episodes or something. So there's a lot of stuff that we reviewed before it was available on the podcast. There's a lot of stuff from earlier on. So what we'll do is go through it, sort of talk about how we got there, and we're going to allow some changes. Are we decided on that yet?
Yeah, so we have a little added extra that we're going to put in there. So between us, we decided to do one up and one down. So there's going to be one 0.5 that we can give to a movie to go up the way, and a 0.5 we can give to a movie to go down the way. I've actually looked through the list a lot, and there's so many movies I want to add stuff to, because there's some things I'm thinking like smashing down the No Country for Old Men even more would be funny. Smashing up Spider-Man to make it a 5 would be even fucking funnier. I think that would tilt so many more people, but I need to use it wisely. Do I move Zulu Dawn into the minus?
What's it on the
It's not a 0.
Zero.
Minus 0.5. But we do just need to analyse the list a little bit, guys. Have a look at the list in your own time. Jump onto the IMDb list, which has had over 100 views since we've updated it as well, which is going really well. So, and it will refresh yourself of the movies, because I think one of the funniest things that we're going to have when we review these 101 movies is Burns's blank expression as we randomly put some names out there. He's got no idea what we're talking about.
What if it's a different film and then you have to correct me as well? That'd be quite funny.
Yes, yes. So we won't have any sort of firm structure for that streaming, that recording that we're going to do. We will just fly through some movies and we'll talk where we feel necessary to talk on there as well. We might put some things up on Instagram, try and get some of your guys' thoughts on the leaderboard itself. Get some more views on the IMDb list. That would be dead cool. But
well, what I'll do is I'll put out sort of them in batches of 10 on Instagram this week as well, starting from the bottom, so give folk a chance to get in the comments and slate us on every single one of those lists.
It'd be quite. It will be funny to see, like, if you do like a little collage and put all the scores above on them and ask people what they would score them out of 5 instead, just to get a contrast on there as well. But we are going to have a week upcoming with no movies for us to watch, guys, whilst we get our minds around this. So I think stopping with 2 really depressing movies was probably a good idea. But we will get the wheel up on the screen now that I've fixed it. So the wheel is now showing up on the screen. We only have a couple of things left on there before we move to our next phase of movies. So we've got me, Burnsy, Daniel. We've got critics versus audience, under and over, which is in terms of time, and versus, which I can't quite remember what we agreed on for that. So that'll be interesting if it comes. So
matches and stuff like that, was it not? No,
I can't.
Like put two actors against each other or some shit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll work that out. So I'm hoping it's me, so I can put all movies to be over 4 hours on my list. So the wheel is spinning live for us to see just now. So we have got, it's past me unfortunately, it's past Burnsy, it's past Daniel, and it's landed on critics versus audience.
Nice, this will be good.
That's actually quite accurate. It's such a flack we've been getting from our audience online that let's see when they go against us this week and we can go against them to start week 1 of phase 2.
So to explain what that is, we're going to get movies to vote for on Instagram. So again, if you want to get involved in what we watch, go on Instagram. And we're going to get movies that either score very highly with critics but very low with the audience, or vice versa. So high with the audience and low with the critics. So I bet we'll find some. I bet all of those movies will be worth discussing. There must be something polarising about them. So,
yeah, there'll be some really arty-farty shite on there, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you very much for spending the last hour and 23 minutes with us. We were worried that this was going to be one of our shortest streams that we've ever done, but I think we've padded this out really, really well. And to steal a line from a movie that I watched in the last couple of days, and if you can know what the movie is, please drop it into Instagram and let us know. But from me, I bid you farewell, morons.
See you later.